Hello everyone, it's good to see you again. Today we're going to talk about communication technology and society. We only have one reading this week, but it's a really long academic article. The author made a really strong argument. I hope you'll enjoy the reading. The title of this article is Persistent and Pervasive Community, New Communication Technologies and the Future of Community. It went back to talk about how community has been formed in history and how it has changed. So I want to go over this process with you very quickly. In pre-industrial time, community is a lot smaller. It's a dense network of close social ties organized around a single focus of activity. Maybe it's because it's a small town, people all live together, so that everyone knows everyone else. You share the same community and everyone is a strong tie for each other. It's very hard for people to keep weak ties because the cost of transportation and the difficulty of going to different places and still keeping in touch with people live at different locations. Once you leave this community, you may enter another small community that is formed by strong ties, but you will lose contact to the previous community. That was what community was like in pre-industrial time. And then because of the cost of transportation has decreased, it's easier to get around, and the communication technology developed. You can keep in touch with people easily. The structure and the size of community changed. It's a loosely knit network, small number of strong ties, but many weak ties. And it can be organized by many different reasons. Maybe you went to a school 10 years ago, you graduated, you left that place, but you can keep in touch with your best friend. It's not completely cost-free to keep in touch with a friend who is not near you physically anymore, but because you share a strong connection where you were in school together, you're willing to keep up with that person. But naturally, you will lose contact with people from old school or from a community you moved away 10 years ago if you don't like them very much to begin with. So you see, there are some strong ties from previous life or your old experience, old organization, old community, but you also lose a lot of connection with those people. And you can easily keep in touch with all your family members. Some of them may live in the city with you, some of them live in the suburb. This limitation of location decreased a lot. And of course, you will know people from your workplace, but the difference between the urban industrial community and the pre-industrial community is that within a network, let's say within the workplace network, not everyone knows everyone else, because somebody may work full-time, somebody may work half-time, some people may work from home. So you see, all those people work at the same place may not necessarily be strong ties for each other. So that's a big difference. And now, with the development of the internet, especially the development of social media, we have persistent and pervasive community. It's a hybrid of pre-industrial and urban industrial community structure, meaning that all those communities are formed, organized around different activities and for different reasons. Some of the people you keep in touch because they're your friends and family. Some of the people you met before. Some of the people you're meeting constantly now for work or hobby. You may join a book club. You may go to the church regularly. So you can keep in touch with everyone with very low cost. Just add them on your Facebook or Instagram. Every time you post something, all of them can see it. And you can keep in touch with your strong tie and weak ties at the same time. You don't have to pick and choose if you don't want to. So the size of the community increased again, and the strength of the connection between weak ties and strong ties became stronger. So that's the brief history of how community has changed because of communication technologies. There are some key arguments I want to spend some time here. The first is the two affordances of digital communication technologies, persistent contact and the pervasive awareness, are ushering in fundamental change to the structure of community. So what does persistent contact and pervasive awareness mean? Let's say 15 years ago, it will take hours for you to tell 100 friends that you had a bagel for breakfast. But now it takes less than a minute. You just post a picture of the bagel. I assume you will spend some time to Photoshop, make sure the lighting is perfect, take multiple shots. Finally, you pick the perfect picture of your breakfast, which is the beautiful bagel, and post it on Facebook or Instagram. Instantly, hundreds of your friends, or maybe thousands of friends, will see that picture immediately, or maybe later in that day, but they all know what you had for breakfast. It wasn't possible decades ago, but it became a very common practice for people's daily life. We share every bit of detail about our life. So a friend I met at primary school still knows a lot about the details of my current life. It wasn't possible in the older structure of community, but it is possible now. But also, we are constantly aware that people are looking into our life if we are also constantly sharing our life online. So you're always aware of others. You're not just in your own world talking to your close friend. Every time you post, you know you're broadcasting your life to everyone in that community. Some of them may be strong ties, some of them may be weak ties. And you know without thinking that people will react to the same message differently. Let's say I had a hard day, I worked really hard, I had some tough cases I need to deal with, and after work, I went for a drink, and I post a picture of a cocktail on my Instagram. I know for sure my close friends would understand that I'm a hard worker, I'm a good person, I have a drink because I'm tired, but maybe my parents or my relatives would think maybe she's not working so hard, she's partying too much, they may judge me. And someone I only met once at a conference who I happen to add on my Facebook may think I'm not a serious scholar, because why would a serious scholar post a picture of cocktail on her Facebook? You can see different audiences will have different reaction to the same message. But because of social media, we have the persistent contact and pervasive awareness. It's actually become a really hard thing to balance, whether we decide to broadcast our life or self-censor what do we have to post on social media. Because the algorithm of social media will not take into consideration of location difference or time difference. Every time when you open Facebook, it used to be all the content used to be all ranked by the time they were posted or the last time people reacted to it. But now the algorithm is so complicated. Facebook or Instagram will show you the things they predict will interest you the most. They will rank things shared by your close friend who you have a lot of interaction online on the top of the page, and the content from people who you barely had interaction with online to the bottom of the page. And the content of the post will also decide where the content will rank on the page. If you're interested in food and your friend posts something about music, then that post will rank lower than other friends who share about food. So this algorithm is so complicated, it will not necessarily present the message with the context. If I post a drink at midnight, you may see the post first thing in the morning. You may not realize I posted a picture a while ago, or if you didn't check the post when I asked for help on social media, and I actually solved the problem, but later when you're logged on, you realize I was asking for help and you were worried about me. But the reason the post I was asking for help ranked so high is because that post got a lot of interaction from others. So the social media algorithm cannot recognize the problem has been solved. The social media algorithm will still recommend my post to you out of context, out of the natural timeline, because it seemed to be a trending topic within my small network. So you see, the point I'm trying to make here is when you post something online, it's inevitable that your audience will process and receive the message out of context. So what do you do? So the author is arguing that social media is great. Communication technology is great. It helps people to keep in touch with each other and maintain a stronger and a bigger network. But it also brings that dilemma that you have to constantly monitor what you're posting, because of the audience size, and different types of audience are collapsed into the same network. So in this week's writing exercise, I do want you to talk about how do you manage your own social media. Do you think about how different audiences would react before you share something on social media? That's all I have today. See you next week.